Hey, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Crash Bandicoot the Sane Trilogy. All growing up, Crash Bandicoot was one of my favorites, and so when the Sane Trilogy was announced, I was so excited to finally get back into the Wumpa Islands, spin some boxes, jump on some enemies, and collect some fruit, and get that addicting theme song stuck in my head again. The story of Crash Bandicoot all starts when Dr. Neocortex is making his animal army, and when his Bandicoot experiment fails, Crash Bandicoot is born. The first game consists of Crash making his way across these tropical islands, ancient ruins, and terrifying castles to save his girlfriend, who's only in the first game for some reason, and it's really basic and it doesn't really need to be that much more complex. The second Crash Bandicoot consists of Crash going across these different environments collecting these crystals for Neocortex, but he's teamed up with his sister Coco to take down Cortex. In Crash Bandicoot Warp sees Crash going through time to stop Cortex again, and he's collecting more crystals again. But this time Cortex is teamed up with the evil Tiki Mask Uka Uka, so it's up to Crash and Coco to go through time and stop Cortex again. The plot of Crash Bandicoot has never been complicated and never needed to be. All it really had to do was get Crash from point A to point B, because all the steps in between, there really isn't a whole lot of development and a whole lot of not of character building or plot points or really much else. It's just kind of a way to set the stage so you can dive into these stages and begin to collect fruit, jump on boxes, and just do everything you can to get to the end of the level. But it's the weirdest thing because, like I said, there's really no major plot points. There's no character development. But for some reason, Crash is such a likable character. I love the character of Crash Bandicoot. He's just so charismatic with his goofiness and his just kind of weird things. And then that Crash dance, that Crash dance is so cool. But it's just so weird because he doesn't really have much of a character. I couldn't tell you anything about Crash other than he likes fruit and he wears awesome shoes. But his charisma and the way that he kind of just runs the character, he's definitely earned his spot in gaming history as one of the gaming icons. Everybody knows Crash Bandicoot, but I couldn't tell you anything about him. It's just so cool, the character that they've created and designed, because he just has such a cool design and his charisma is just there, and you really connect with Crash Bandicoot in a really weird way because he doesn't develop at all. He has no character, but he's still so cool, which is really weird, but so awesome and very memorable. And same thing with the enemies and the boss fights you face as Crash. Throughout the series, you'll find some reoccurring characters that'll appear in each of the games, but their boss fights have changed drastically, and it's really cool to see that. But in the end, these characters somehow are still memorable, but they still don't have any development. It's the weirdest thing ever, but I really appreciate Crash Bandicoot for that reason. But in the end, there's really no story to Crash Bandicoot, and it's kind of weird because I don't mind it. I don't need a really complex story. It just gives me a vessel to get from point A to point B. But the series has spawned so many of these iconic characters that lots of people recognize, even though they don't develop. They don't have a story. It's the weirdest thing ever, but it's so cool, and I really appreciate that about Crash Bandicoot. But let's talk about the gameplay. Looking at the gameplay style of Crash Bandicoot, it may look like a generic platformer, but there's something that sets Crash Bandicoot apart, and it's really weird because you look at other platforming games like Mario, for example, and you see so many clones or games that try to use the same ideas, but there's something about Crash Bandicoot that it's so unique. I can't think of a single game that's pretty close or the same idea as Crash Bandicoot. It's just such a weird and unique style of platforming game that's really just set Crash Bandicoot kind of in his own little corner of platforming that nobody else has really bothered to touch, which is really weird because this is an awesome gameplay formula that I really enjoy. Each level drops you into a cool, unique environment that's got a cool, fun, tropical island theme, but there's also lots of other things going on depending on the game. But for the most part, a lot of it's based around tropics and stuff like that, which is awesome because it looks gorgeous. But the gameplay consists of you going to the start to the finish, collecting fruit, spinning boxes, and jumping on enemies all on the way. And every time you collect 100 fruit, you get an extra life, and you're going to need those lives. It sounds simple, but these guys are not nice to you. Crash Bandicoot can be a very difficult game. That's why I said you're going to need those lives. They're very important. And the enemies you face and the different platforming and environmental hazards you come across, they're pretty tricky, and the way that they get set up and things like that really make this game not as easy as it seems, and I like that. It makes it a lot of fun. Well, it does start out pretty simple at first with the first few levels of each game. They slowly get more and more progressively harder, and I like it. It never is a huge difficulty spike, but you do get the sense of increasing difficulty in just the way that things are set up or new environmental hazards that are introduced. And it's really awesome, and I really appreciate just how each game gets progressively harder and teaching you new things along the way. The gameplay of Crash Bandicoot the Sane Trilogy is so awesome and so addicting. Since this game came out 2 years ago, I've probably played through the whole trilogy games 4 or 5 times, and it's awesome, and it still doesn't get boring each time. It's just such an addicting and fun, simple gameplay that I really enjoy. At a certain point, it doesn't become a trilogy of 3 games. It almost becomes one long game that just changes a lot in between. And it's actually really cool, and I like that, to think of it like that. It's no longer the Crash Bandicoot trilogy. It's the Crash Bandicoot, the game. It's 3 awesome games packed into one giant game. That's really, really cool, and I like it. So real quick, I'll kind of talk about like specific changes in game mechanics and the way that each game plays, but just so you can kind of get the sense that each game is definitely a lot different from each other. So the first game, it starts out and it's just you have Crash and you can jump and you can spin, and that's it. And it's very bland and basic once you get into Crash 2 and 3 because those ones add so many cool things that are so different. That going back to the first one, you're like, oh, I just feel so limited by my abilities because in the next games I have so many cool things that are new and different. The first game just kind of be bland and boring. But I love going back and seeing the first game because it's got some of my favorite levels and it's great to just go back and see where it started it all. Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back was really cool and a great progression for the series. I loved seeing the change from the first to the second game, as they did a really good job of just introducing new mechanics that kept things fresh, that it wasn't the same thing, that getting new levels wasn't just the next step for Crash Bandicoot. They added new mechanics like the sliding and like the double jump, things like that were really, really cool that I really appreciated. Crash Bandicoot Warped was easily my favorite one as it introduced so many cool new mechanics that were really cool, and it just was a great progression in the series. Seeing where it goes from the first to the third game was really awesome as they just added so many cool new things like double jumps, and then they add like the Crash Death Spin, which was actually my least favorite as it kind of ruined some of the flow of the game, but that's enough about that. But they just add so many cool things, and the fruit cannon, which breaks the game, which was awesome, but also kind of breaks the game, so made it not as awesome. But it's still awesome because it's a fruit cannon. The third game also introduces like vehicle sections, which are really cool. There's like airplanes, and there's like submarines, and there's like motorcycle races, which are super hard. But then also it lets you play as Crash's sister Coco in specific like ones where you get to ride on the back of a lion tiger thing, and it's awesome. And I really liked this change of pace. It just was different. So you weren't just running around in each level. You had like vehicles you can play in, and it was really cool and just a great change of pace for the series. But don't ask me about the wave runner levels. We're not going to talk about that. I have bad memories with those. And I liked how these games just slowly progressed. You got new abilities, you got new ways to unlock these abilities. Just things like that kept a great pace for the game, making it, like I said, it kind of almost seemed like one big long game. And I really appreciated that because it wasn't just jumping and spinning the whole time. You just had a good progression of upgrades and abilities and things like that, which kept it fresh and new and held a great pace the entire time through all three games. Graphically, this game's gorgeous. This game looks so good. The colors are really bright. The environments are super detailed, and it just looks really awesome. I recommend going and looking like side-by-side comparisons of like certain scenarios and sequences in these games because seeing it from the original PlayStation 1 to the brand new PS4 updated graphics are amazing. But speaking of the PS4 updated graphics, I got some complaints about the Switch version. On the Switch, this game plays good. It plays just the exact same. But graphically, this game looks really, really bad. There was a lot of toned down colors and details, and some of the text is kind of blurry, like specifically like the checkpoint boxes. It was kind of a big letdown, but it's super understandable since the Switch is a far less superior console. But it just was such a bummer because the PS4 version was so beautiful and so fun to look at that the Switch version being dumbed down like that was such a bummer. And I understand, I get it, but it was just kind of a bummer for me because the updated graphics that just look so cool and beautiful and bright and colorful and awesome were like one of my favorite things about this updated trilogy. So seeing that dumbed down in the Switch version was a bit of a bummer, but it's still the same experience gameplay wise that you'll really enjoy either way. So in the end, I love Crash Bandicoot the Sane Trilogy. It was so fun revisiting these games from my classic past, and it's so fun to see them all updated and look awesome on the PS4, mind you. And let's just forget about those crappy redesigns. We're not going to talk about those because those are lame. The original trilogy is where it's at when it goes to Crash Bandicoot. So if you haven't played the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, or if you've played it before and you really liked it and you just wanted to hear someone else talk about it, I love this game. It's so cool and I highly recommend you check it out. Even if you haven't played it in a while, pick it back up again and play it again because it's so much fun. Like I've said, I played it like 4 or 5 times in the last like 2 years and it's so great and it's still so much fun. So I highly recommend Crash the Insane Trilogy to fans of the Crash Bandicoot series, fans of platformers, or people just looking for a really good, enjoyable platforming experience, or something just fun in general. I think you'll really enjoy Crash Bandicoot the Insane Trilogy. So go and check that out. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my review of Crash Bandicoot the Insane Trilogy. I loved playing this game on Twitch, so if you watched that, thank you for watching. Thanks for participating. That was so much fun to play that with you guys and see some of your reactions and get some tips and tricks, things like that were really, really cool. So thanks guys for watching that, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to help me out, hit the subscribe button and the like and the bell to get notified every time I post a new video. That would be awesome. And let me know what you thought about the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, or what's your favorite Crash Bandicoot game. Let me know in the comments below. So thanks as always for watching A Game for Your Thoughts, and we will catch you guys next time on A Game for Your Thoughts.